Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Nicked to Slip. That's right, we've only gone and had a rebrand. And if you're seeing a different name, no, you're not. Stop lying. Now, where we last left off, we were all confident before the Gabba that our respective teams were going to get a result in spite of what had happened in the first test. Were lessons learned? Did we make it past 2 days of cricket? Did England show a bit of dog in them? And finally, we get to the bottom of, is Australia 4 weak men? That's what's to come on this week's episode, hosted by Richard, Josh, Steve, and myself, Isaac. But we thought we'd start off with a bit of a fun little segment led by our very own Josh. So, Josh, I would like to give you the floor.
Morning or good afternoon, lads. We're going to start today with a little bit of a Who Am I? So it's a little quiz for you guys for some Ashes players, very famous Ashes players. I'm just going to start off asking a question. If you can't get the answer on the first go, I'll give you another one. The more I give, the easier they become. But it is a Who Am I? So I'll give you the first one. So I scored more runs in Ashes cricket than any other player in history. Does anyone want to take a stab?
I'm going to say Bradman.
Who said that?
Steve.
Very good, very good. Donald Bradman, 5,028 runs in Ashes Test, a total of 19 centuries in Ashes cricket at an average of 89.78.
I was nervous at that, and that was the example.
And when I was answering, it came to my mind straight away, but I was like, is it?
Now, this one's a little bit harder. I'm England's all-time leading run scorer in Ashes cricket with a total of 3,636 runs.
Oh.
It's got to be playing
Alistair Cook
sometime.
was less than that. Alistair Cook was less than that, I'm sure.
It was.
What's the next one?
My career spanned the early 1900s.
Jack Hobbs.
Correct, Jack Hobbs.
I'm pretty sure I heard today that Zach Crawley has played as many Test matches for England as Jack Hobbs did.
No chance.
I'm pretty. You can check that. It's either Ollie Pope or it's Zach Crawley.
Oh my God.
They're talking about it on TMS.
Now, I'll be surprised if you don't get this one on the first one. I'm the all-time leading Ashes wicket taker.
Shane Warne.
Nailed it.
Go on.
The fourth one. I'm the leading Ashes wicket taker for England since World War II.
Oh,
Broad.
Isaac nailed it.
Yes.
Yeah, fair play.
I was surprised you got that one on the first one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fucking
well played.
Don't question me.
And the last one, this is a hard one. In Ashes history, no one has taken more catches than me.
More catches.
Yeah, more catches.
No, give us another one.
Adam Gilchrist.
Sorry, I should specify other than a wicket keeper.
Ah.
Well, it's one of two. Can I guess again?
Yep.
Have you got another clue?
No. No, go on. Throw another clue out.
My career spanned the late 70s and into the 1980s.
Oh, God.
70s to 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck it. Gower.
No. That would be 86 was Botham's. Actually, I'm going Botham.
Good process of elimination, Sir Ian Botham.
Oh, nice.
Ian Botham.
He's in Australia at the moment, isn't he, Josh?
I think he is, mate. I think he's
Is
got
he
a
on
place
TV
out here.
over there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. He definitely is. Yeah.
Did he like him over there? Have they got sort of respect for him?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I think he's he's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, he seems
I
like.
feel like the Aussies give the English players more respect after they've retired.
100%.
Yeah,
I think-
or if they're sort of Aussie type players, like they like Flintoff, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love Flintoff. He's
Yeah.
probably my favourite English cricketer ever. Freddie.
Yeah,
And whenever
he's-
people
he's
ask, like,
fine.
when they ask those questions, which Englishman do you wish played for Australia? My answer is always none of them, except maybe Flintoff.
Solid, respectful answer. That solid, respectful answer.
It's disgusting behaviour. Come on.
It is. It is. Was that
Freshman's
the
own.
was that the last one, Josh, or is there more to come? Or
That was the last one, lads.
no, I like that. That was a
I
fun little
enjoyed
segment,
that.
which is
I like that.
which is dubbed Josh's Who Am I? So there's our fun little quiz to start the beginning of the podcast. Let us know how you got on with that. Hopefully you got all of them right, but you might not. So that is the Who Am I quiz. Now we're going to start off. We're going to move now on to some very serious matters, boys, because Brisbane has happened. We have been taken back to the Gabba, and we have had what can only be described as more than 2 days of cricket. So in my eyes, that's a win, and that's a win for sport, and that is a moral victory. But I would like to know your thoughts. We'll start with Steve. What are your thoughts reflecting on the Gabba?
So I've not watched it back because
Oh, good start.
it's a frustrating tour so far for me. I think before we say anything and go into all the nuances of the test match, I think the one positive from the test match was Joe Root scoring his first century in Australia, and I think props should be given to him. We talked about it a bit while the game was going on between us, and Josh was very quick to say he didn't think that he needed to get it. I did. I thought there was too many people that were willing to hang that over his head. So to me, that's phenomenal batting. I think he batted like he does, even when people were losing their heads a bit around him. 135 not out. To get not out in any test match is always good when you're in the top four. But perfect batting from Joe Root, and then England's. The words come to me, and I probably shouldn't say them out loud, but I just think that they were weak. Weak is probably a word that just popped into my head, but it's the word that Ben Stokes used, saying that he doesn't want weak men in his dressing room. Well, I think they were weak. I think we had probably the best of conditions throughout the test match, maybe, and to go to barely get above their first inning in both of our innings is just undescribably bad. On a pitch that flattened out for the Aussies, especially in that second innings, I think. Michael Nessa was very good, but it's horses for courses with him. It was a game that possibly filled you with hope after the first innings of England, and then you very, very quickly realise that we were nowhere near. And one of the biggest things that I took from it was, and we will possibly talk about it in a bit, but I think I sent a little thing like Australia. It was their backups. This wasn't the first two tests haven't been Australia's 11. This is people coming in on debut, people coming in that shouldn't. We should be easily accepting it and go and licking our lips at it, and instead they've actually performed like the well-oiled machine that they are, and we're getting rolled over without Australia really getting, or in my mind, and I'm sure you guys can put their opinions in, but it feels like Australia haven't got out of third gear, and I just don't understand what's going on. So that's my sum up, and there's definitely more questions than answers right now, especially for England. I actually think there's a few questions for Australia, but in good ways, not bad ways.
I think what impressed me the most about Australia's performance is if you look at the actual scorecard on there, and I think Josh made a point of it at the time after the game. If you look at Australia's first innings, you've got 5 people scoring over 50, and only 3 of them getting less than 30. No one got 100, but like if you look at it, you've got Weatherald on 72, Labuschagne 65, Smith 61, Cameron Grain 45, Carey 63, Stark even got 77. I think like it's just all over class in that performance in that first innings, and that's why they were so easily able to get to 5-11 because they've got that in the locker. Like I don't think anyone's surprised at any of them getting the scores that they got really, because we all
Well,
know
no,
that they can do
we
that.
are surprised at Stark. That's the thing.
Stark. Other than Stark, yeah, but the rest of them you can kind of.
Stark was their top scorer.
Yeah,
Like
he
that,
was.
that blows my mind a little bit. How can Mitchell Stark, who has just bowled us out into fair enough, there's a bit of a rest, but bowling takes a lot out of you. He bowled us out in 2 days in the first test. Then he's done a decent job. It wasn't I wouldn't say it was an awful score of 334 in the first innings. But then he comes out and then he does it. Obviously, he helps in the second innings as well. But like it just blew my mind that some of the tactics, some of the there was no game plan from England for each batter, which I just didn't understand. But then when you watched Australia bowl, they didn't just have a plan, but they stuck to their game plan. Like yes, there was a few balls here and there where they changed it, hit a bouncer and stuff like that. But like over these first 2 tests, Australia have made it really, really simple for England, and they're going, we are going to bowl at you, and we're going to stay patient, and it should be easy to, as a batter, to go right. Well, just spend half an hour digging in. Don't waft after the ball. Don't lose your head. But instead, we're doing the same mistake, batter in, batter out, and some of our biggest run scorers have been towards the lower end of the lineup, and it's like what? Just what? If you're sat on the balcony, just watch what the other team are doing instead of being so pig-headed about it. But I'm sorry, so I'll stop.
Ignore me. Sorry, ignore that silence. I was actually just on mute there on the recording, so let me just repeat that. Sorry. So basically, yeah, as I was saying, Steve's made some good points there. With that, obviously, with the lower order getting vital runs and sort of like edging them ahead, sort of like making the difference. With us, I have watched the highlights back because when I first watched it, obviously it was the morning. It's like watching the Ashes in England. You're naturally just going to be a bit tired. One thing I completely forgot and I realised I should have remembered is our fielding was crazy. Like it was, I think we dropped a fair few of them just watching it back there. I'm just trying to remember sort of like ones on there, but
Chances, I think,
our,
something like that.
Yeah, a lot of big chances.
our fielding,
Yeah,
like if you look at if we took, I mean, obviously it's ifs, buts, and maybes, but if we took the chances of which we were given, and like we didn't squander sort of like easy ones which should be gone, I think we'd be having a very different conversation this game. To be fair, because if you looked at it, we could have tore through a few of them sort of like fairly decently, without sort of like getting us into this position. But we just again we just didn't capitalize, which is I think it's kind of like our mantra this series. We get ourselves into a position and we just don't capitalize on it. Which maybe is a little bit of an indication of the way we are in Australia. I don't know, it just seems it's not good. It's not good.
I don't think it's a missed chances. I think the bowlers have done okay. In the fact of in the first test they did very well in bowling Australia out in that first innings. Obviously, we've spoke about
Yeah, they
Chavez's
did.
innings, but the bowling seems to be okay. It's just we're not. And I've heard a lot of people when we've been listening to pundits and I've been reading a lot of articles from over here and over in Oz, and it comes down to the 50-50 bits, which happens multiple times a test match. The 50-50 balance, who's going to come out on top, happens multiple times in a test match. And it's not just this test series, but it's on other test series. We can never get on top in those moments. And I don't know what it is about it. Because
that's what Stokes has been saying this week, isn't it? He's saying it's a mentality thing. It's not a skill thing. He says when we're in front of the game, we're good, which is right. Well, apart from the second innings in Perth and then Lords in 2023. When we're behind the game, we're good because we do bring ourselves back into it. It's just those what the kids have called clutch moments apparently. And when it's in the balance, we're struggling, and that's just it. It's a bit of a common theme. I think with drop catches, that just absolutely smacks of the lack of preparation to me. It's a pink ball. It comes off the bat differently. You see it differently. You see Steve Smith wearing his Shandapol little eye bits. What I don't even know what they're called. To try and see the ball better. And Jamie Smith's dropped an absolute dolly, hasn't he? I think that was head down. Yeah, Travis head. Early doors, and like Stokes just took a bit of flack for what he said. He said we've took 10 wickets, but if we'd have took all of our catches, it felt like 16 or 17. And I can see what he means. There's a lot of big chances, and then if you're not taking big chances in Australia, then you're struggling. Everything sort of either has to fall for us, or we have to take advantage of the majority of situations, and we're sort of behind when it's in the balance.
I feel like Stokes kind of said what we talked about on the last pod, though, where and most fans will probably agree with us. It's not a skill. It's a mental aptitude that I honestly thought that we would go over to Australia with some sort of resilience, and they're not showing it at all. And I actually feel like they're letting themselves down more that way than actual score wise. If we lose 5-0, we lose 5-0. But the way that some of them are playing and the way some of them are not showing their best qualities, I always think is a little bit unforgivable. There's a way to lose, and the first two test matches we've lost really, really poorly.
I think they're two very different defeats, though, aren't they? I think the first one, the games, and I said this to Isaac a couple of days ago. In Perth, it was a missed opportunity, and then they threw it away, in my opinion. This test match in Brisbane, we just got beaten by a better team in their own country, in their conditions, with better players that have sort of adapted to a pink ball test. But again, does that go back to preparation?
It could be preparation, but also I think I do get what you're saying, but I also think that it feels like an easy excuse for them when if they'd have lost and made a game of it, because it didn't feel like a game after day one. It didn't feel like we were in it at all. And that was my issue with the second test, is that I don't understand how we can take what is supposedly our best 11 players over there, which, let's be honest, we have, except for obviously Mark Wood, who missed and unfortunately will miss the rest of the series. We were not playing Australia's best 11 in even close, and we were not close to them. Yeah.
They've got arguably their best bowler, apart from obviously Stark's been fantastic, but the captain's back, who's just a fantastic player, useful runs with the bat, which Stark does as well, and then Lyon's coming back as well. An obvious weak link in the Australian lineup was Kawaja, because apart from in the subcontinent, he hasn't really scored runs since the Ashes in 2023. He's not even playing going forward, and sort of Weatherald, who's come in, has now started scoring runs. And I said on the preview to the whole series, my concern is that we will we'll start off terribly, not terribly. We'll start off quite poorly, and then we will we'll sort of pick it up when it's almost too late. I actually predicted 2 apiece, so I thought we'd lose the first 2 Test matches, we'd win the next 2, and then Sydney would get rained off, and we wouldn't have a result. It's yeah, as I said before, and I'll sort of double down on it. They feel like 2 very different defeats to me, and I actually thought we were still in the game after seeing how Australia battered in the first innings. I didn't put it. It wasn't sort of beyond the realms of possibility to me that we will put on a massive score, and then have a go at bowling them out, and then ultimately we've you can't defend 60 odd runs in a Test match away from home, can you? So one of the most frustrating things for me is how they turned up, and maybe they're trying to sort of take some momentum into the next Test match, but they all seemed right bang on it in Australia when Australia were chasing 60 yard. Obviously, Archer's having a bit of a chirp at Steve Smith. They seemed so animated in the field. There's high fives and cheering and hollering going when we're taking wickets, and it all just felt a little bit too late. But I think I'm still not sure on preparation and whether I still don't think that they should have gone to Canberra to play that to play that day night Test, because the pitch is completely different. I know Baz has come out and said that they've over prepared, and I can actually see what he means by that. 5 hard sort of training sessions and lead up to a Test match isn't really something that you do. But when you see catches going down, that's maybe that's a lack of preparation in the lead up to over the last couple of years. Because as I say, our wicket keeper's never played a pink ball. He's never played a day night Test match or county match, or he's never done it, and he's dropped an absolute sitter to get us off to a good start, hasn't he? So
the thing that screams lack of preparation for me, and what I've sort of been noticing with England, is just in their finer details. So you look at their field placings. I think they've been really poor with their plans to players. And look, you can say that Jake Weatherall's a new player, so they don't know much about him. But they knew he was being picked for the first Test, and they would know where he scored his runs because that data is available.
He's played enough matches, though, hasn't he?
He's played so much first-class cricket.
Yeah, that's why
exactly
he's got picked, because he's played so well in the Shield, and he's played so well in the Australian domestic competition. So no, I agree.
That's exactly right. No, that's exactly right. And there's so much data on how he gets out, 2, where he scores his runs, and he scores his runs square of the wicket. But in the first innings, they're bowling to him. They've got their field set straight, and they're bowling, just sort of back of a length, and he's able to play square of the wicket where he's strong. To me, that's really poor captaincy. And then it comes back to the other fine details as well. Jamie Smith being an example, his footwork behind the stumps is just not suited to Australian conditions. And the way that the slip cordon's set up too, they're quite shallow, which in Australia just doesn't work. And by shallow, I mean they're stagger. So the way that they stagger is very different to the way you see Australia do it. With Australia, you see first slip quite a distance behind the keeper, and second slips, up level, if not a step in front of the keeper. And that's to deal with the extra pace and carry. And second slips there for the one that dips. And whereas England, they're almost flat. It's got better as the series has gone on, but that just shows me that this team's been here enough times to know that, and the fact that we're sitting here talking about things as basic as that just tells me that they're completely underprepared.
Yeah, it seems as though this team sort of works things out when they're, 2-0 down in
Really?
a 5-match series. And I'll say again, I said this before the first test. I actually gave us a chance in both of the first test matches, but my concern was that we'd go 2-0 down and it'd end up 2 apiece. Now, whether we can get anywhere near even winning 2 test matches going forward, I don't know. But even if we turn up for the next 2 and play well and look like we've adapted to the conditions, it'll be a case of what might have been, won't it? Looking back to the first 2 test
Definitely.
matches. So
I think this. I think this will run nicely into. I think we've got Josh saying his piece in a minute, but I think my biggest ask is, why does England have to have their backs against the wall before they look at themselves? Why does it have to go really, really wrong in Test series before they go, are we doing things right? And because
it's almost like your football team going 1-0 down within 15 minutes every week, isn't it?
Yeah, and then
Because
go.
ultimately it's not sustainable. They may come back every now and again, but
it's like Erling Haaland. You know how big he is, and you're leaving him loads of room and scoring, and then going, oh crap, he's really good if you leave him on his own. It's exactly that, and I just don't understand why we put ourselves in this position where this could turn out really bad for England. The way they've talked about they were talking about this Test series kind of before the last Ashes Test series. They had this. They knew that this was a real good chance with the players that were coming through, and it could really look like it could make us look silly. And I just, it feels like it's a when are they going to learn from the mistakes that we make, because the mistakes that we're making are the similar ones every single time we lose a test or draw a test series. It's the same mistakes happening over and over again.
Do you know another thing I found quite frustrating? And it wasn't actually about any of the players that were out there. It's seeing Alex Carey stood up to the stumps, to Michael Neser, who's bowling at sort of 80 mile an hour. Obviously, Carey was unbelievable the whole Test match. What a performance!
Ridiculous.
But the attack we've taken over to Australia since I've been watching cricket as a little kid, half of these bowlers would have looked fantastic in those conditions, and we've gone sort of all out pace. And then we have got a bowler who's gone on tour in Matthew Potts, who will pitch it up and he will get movement, and he's not express pace. And I'm watching that. He's probably sat in a hotel room watching it, and Michael Neser's taking 5 for, and he's bowling at sort of in and around 80 mile an hour. It's like watching the county championship, but with a world class wicketkeeper behind the stumps.
Yeah, I think one thing as well, and I guess maybe you can give England a bit of slack potentially, is that Australia played close to the perfect Test match. I thought the only thing that wasn't perfect about Australia's performance was Cameron Green's brain fade in the first innings.
Yeah, he was balling, wasn't he?
He was.
He's trying to get his IPL contract, Josh.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
I think
it's worked out for him. Yeah,
yeah. Gave his wicket away and made $2 million. So fair enough.
So I think at the end of the day, that's probably the only thing that Australia did wrong. And I remember I called it on our chat, just saying it's taking unnecessary risk, sort of backing away like that. And yeah, there might be a gap at deep extra cover, but you don't need to back away and show all of your stumps to hit the short ball there. You can be more patient, and he turned into a bit of a one trick pony, and then Fairfax broadcast saw it and pitched it up and took his pegs, and it actually opened the door for England at the time, but Mitchell Starc and Carey were able to slam it shut pretty quickly, which was again, I said on the chat, the fact that Australia scored 500 without anyone scoring 100 is really impressive. And what I said during the time, the good thing was we weren't losing wickets in clumps. Everyone came in, everyone chipped in. And I think that's what you need to do to win Test cricket in Australia. You've got to be able to absorb pressure. And unfortunately, just England haven't been doing that. Some of the performances, Mitchell Starc again was incredible. I thought Steve Smith's captaincy was spot on. And then Alex Carey, it's probably the best wicket-keeping performance I've seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in my
can't argue with
lifetime.
that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Really good.
Well, it's kind of been alluded to a little bit before with what Steve was mentioning, but what I want to do is I want to move us on to the next segment of the podcast on there, which I've just got in bold letters, which says leadership, because Josh came up to us the other day and said, "Lads, I want to talk to you about something on the pod about leadership," and he said he wants the floor for a minute, and he said he wants to just get something off his chest. So, Josh, I think now is a good time as ever to really hammer home what you were thinking.
Thanks, Isaac. Yeah, mate, we absolutely need to talk about the leadership circus that is Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum. Let's be up front. Stokes has been telling his team to show a bit of dog and urging England to have a bit of grit and fight after 2 hammerings in Perth and Brisbane. As he put it to the reporters, just look at your opposition every single time and show a bit of dog. That's fight to me, which sounds inspirational until you realise in this tour, there's actually no substance behind that. Let's rewind for a second to Ollie Pope, because nothing sums up this whole situation better. First test in Perth, Pope plays pretty well. He looks good, looks to defend, defends when he should and puts bat on ball. It's textbook test match cricket. What happens? He was criticised, saying it's not aggressive enough, you need more intent, can't survive in Australia playing like that, because apparently survival now is cowardice. So Pope listens, second test, comes out and thinks, righto lads, I'll baz ball it. I'll do exactly what the captain and coach told me to do. He plays his shots, he takes on the bowlers, gets out driving on the up. And while all this is going on, Ben Stokes plays out a session in Adelaide, and suddenly it's gritty, it's brave, it's inspirational. And don't get me wrong, I got suckered into that as well because I thought it was actually a gritty innings from Ben Stokes. But a penny for Ollie Pope's thoughts. The mixed messaging coming from captain and coach is ridiculous, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that change room. Which brings me to Baz, who gave the media a line that will go down in cricket press conference comedy history, saying England had been over-prepared for the Brisbane Test. Yep, over-prepared. Off the back of the Brisbane Test, the boys jump on a bus up to Noosa for a few days off. Again, I'd love to know what Ollie Pope and Jamie Smith think of this, because their careers are on the line in this series. And if I was them, I'd want to be in the nets or a centre week at practice or a tour match trying to save my career. So ahead of Adelaide, what we'll see, and this will really annoy me and I'll hate every second of it, Stokes will continue to glare at the wicket every time he gets out and grimace at every chance he gets and show how much he's trying with every defensive shot. He'll throw the ball in from the boundary rope off balance even when the run's been completed, again, to just show how hard he's trying. And he'll get praise for it. He'll get praise for digging in. But it isn't grit, it's marketing. Grit and leadership is backing your team and particularly your teammates and understanding the flaws in baseball and taking ownership for those flaws and taking ownership of your team's poor performance as the captain. It's not accepting flowers from pundits and calling your teammates weak or asking them to show a bit of dog. That isn't leadership at all. The lack of ownership as a leader is emblematic of why I said baseball wouldn't work at the start of the series and even in our first pod years ago. I said baseball was having no responsibility or recourse for your actions, which is never a successful way to play cricket, least of all in Australia. The mindset starts at the top with Stokes, and I believe he's the reason why England is staring down the barrel of 5-0 in this series. Ben Stokes is a charlatan, and I currently think he's the worst skipper in world cricket for hanging his teammates out to dry the way he has. Poor Ollie Pope. It's vibes-based scapegoating, because apparently if you get out defending, you're timid. If you get out attacking, you're weak, and if you're Ben Stokes, you're a hero either way. I feel better, lads.
Wow, that is
Tell us how you feel, Josh.
that is
Yeah,
scathing.
tell us how you really feel.
It is an interesting point.
But as an England fan, it must be frustrating watching it.
I don't think I've ever felt as frustrated as I have the last 2 tests, but I'll disagree with a couple of points. I don't disagree with a lot of them, I will say. But I think there's a couple of points where I think some of the stuff Stokes and Baz has said have been to try and get a reaction. And that
Stokes
might
said that
seem...
today.
Yeah.
Stokes has actually come out and said that today.
Oh, has he? Right, okay. So
Yeah. He said he just wanted his comments just to linger for a little bit. So I just pressed him and said, are you looking for, is it just to get a reaction? And he said, yeah.
Yeah, and listen, like I think we've all been there in certain jobs where you are becoming like I've had a recent one where I asked my team at work, are you not getting it because of something I've done? Like, and it's throwing that thing, and I do get it a little bit. I want to try and poke the bear a little bit, but I also think that some of the stuff you said, Josh, is absolutely correct. I don't understand how Ollie Pope we've spoke about for the last couple of years, where is he in a position to keep his bat? And I think we all sat there after Test 1 and said Ollie Pope played well, and to hear some of the criticism about him, I didn't quite get, and that's not just aimed at the possibly people around the England cricket team, or I think that's across the cricketing world. I think everyone has said that Ollie Pope needs to play better. He needs to understand how to bat sometimes, and then to do what he did. I thought, what was it, 44? I think I've not got it in front of me. So 44, I think, in the first test, and I was just
He
like,
batted
okay,
well.
he batted
He
well,
was
and,
playing
and
well. Yeah.
yeah, and I was just like, okay, but then we've been talking about Jamie Smith since, and it's like, how can we go? And you are a massive fan of this, Josh. Is play your best 11.
Mm.
Do I think Jamie Smith has been our best keeper in the last 2 to 3 years? No, I think Ben Folks
He's been
is.
solid, hasn't he? But he's not in there for his. I know he's got the gloves, but he's not in there for his wicket keeper. My issue is with the bat.
Yeah,
He's not
exactly.
performing with the bat at
And,
all. But
and
sorry,
when
I'm sorry to interrupt, Steve. We've not even took another wicket keeper. There is not
no,
another wicket keeper
mental,
over there.
mental, and these
So
are the decisions that I'm
ironically,
worried
Ollie
about.
Pope's the other option with the gloves.
Yeah, like we were talking about our 11s for this test, weren't we? And I was looking at it going, well, Pope's going to have to play if we don't play Jamie Smith, who is not playing well, but I keep going back, and I've not changed my mind. Ben Folks, he could bat. So was he the greatest batsman in the world? No, but he's probably up there as one of the best wicket keepers out there in the last, I'd say, 5 years. So why isn't he? Why has he been chucked to the side when? And I feel like
Do
this is a bit nutty from the England setup.
you know which county Jamie Smith plays for?
I don't.
He plays
My
for
mind is
Surrey.
blank.
Guess who Surrey's wicket keeper is?
And folks,
Ben Folks. It's a bit like Bashir and Jack Leach. Bashir can't
yeah,
get. I mean, the Bashir's a different one because they sort of championed him and picked him based on playing in Australia. And we're 3 Test matches in, and he's not played a game. But yeah,
but the
England do it
Bashir,
differently with the wicket keeper, don't they?
yeah, but the
Um,
Bashir decision or decisions of what's happened so far is backing Josh up. You've been saying it for the last 18 months, haven't you, Richard? They picked Bashir for his height, for this series. It's why we're seeing him. And what's gone on? Like what? And it's backing up everything Josh has just said. There's the flip flopping of plans and ideas and I'd say tactics. It's not. It's mental puzzle fixing is just so wrong at the moment, or it feels it. It feels like there's not someone going with a bit of a common sense head going, guys, wait a sec.
well, it's funny. The top 7's set in stone practically, isn't it? It's been our top
Yeah,
7 for 2 years. It's the
if not
bowlers
longer.
that.
Yeah,
Which obviously you've got to rotate bowlers, but the Bashir one, I've heard Stokes say today if he was picking his best spin bowler, Bashir would be playing, but Jax is playing I mean, it's obviously for his batting to try and lengthen the batting lineup, but
yeah, but
yeah,
why are we looking at lengthening the batting lineup? The bowlers should be the bowlers, and if they can bat a bit, which most of the bowlers can, except for Bashir, then
I don't think there's too much difference in Jackson Bashir's off spin though. It's not like he's a world class off spinner that can't
No.
bat. He's not Murray, is he? I mean, I remember my dad telling me when I saw Murray play for Lancashire. He said when he walked out to bat, he said, "Yeah, watch this lad. He looks like he's batting with a lolly stick in his hands." When Murray come out to bat and got a golden duck, got bowled. But yeah, I don't think there's too much difference between obviously Jamie Smith and Ben Foakes. It's night and day the wicket keeper. Incidentally, before this series, in fact, before the last Test match against India in the summer. Smith had been pretty solid with the gloves. Didn't really make any mistakes. Wasn't really flashy. Didn't make any mistakes. So but Foakes is obviously a much better wicket keeper in terms of his glove work. But yeah, Bashir and Jacks. I don't think there's too much difference between the way they bowl, what they get out of the pitch. Because Jacks is obviously pretty tall as well. But I would say it's one of the only things that they've actually gone back on in the Bazball in inverted commas era. They've always championed Bashir as he's playing because of what he can do in Australia, and they've gone back on that. Clearly, as I say, this is the third Test match, and he's played 1 or 2 games for the Lions, hasn't he? So. The batting lineup, as I say, set in stone, and I thought when you heard Stokes come out with what he said about weak men and whatever, I heard people say that they knew who he was talking about. I couldn't quite work out who he was alluding to. He could well have been talking about Harry Brook, with the way
I was
that
just
he got
about
out
to
a couple
say,
of times.
Harry Brook is the and I'm gonna do a little Josh rant here, and I cannot understand, and this goes with the leadership model that Josh is talking about. I cannot understand how someone that is so obviously talented, he has just been given one day international captain, he's just been given vice captaincy of the Test. The way he has played this series so far is quite honestly beyond me. Why you would want to make your wicket such a simple prize in the in the Ashes? Never mind, we're not talking Somerset or county cricket or even Shield cricket. We're not talking that. We're not even talking against Bangladesh. We're talking about the pinnacle of probably most English and Australian cricketers' careers, and you have gone over to Australia where we were supposed to make a point, where we were supposed to be the team to try and win back the Ashes on foreign soil for the first time since, 2015 or whatever it was. To give his wicket away like he has is utterly brainless. You're not playing cricket. You're trying to. You're acting like you are some sort of god with a cricket bat when you're nowhere near just yet. I get it. He's got the talent, but what he has played like so far, I cannot understand. And
He's the one that Australia would fear as well, and I think any team around the world, I'm sure Josh would probably agree. But he's actually said this week. But you know, I was going to touch on this when we're talking about Brisbane, and this probably proves the fact even more. Harry Brook got out in Brisbane to Mitchell Stark's first ball, the first ball when he came back onto bowl in twilight. Brook went after him, and he got out. I understand that they want to put pressure back on the bowlers.
Of course they do.
But he's come out and said it was shocking, and he said he does need to rein it in a little bit. So I think in terms of the next Test match, I think it would be very, very, very interesting to see how he plays because he has got it in his game.
I think he'd be better for it.
Yeah, 100%. And he's so young. He is the one that they'll all fear. And the reason he's vice captain is he is the only one that they see in that squad as the next captain of England. There is nobody else in the squad that is anywhere near becoming next England captain.
That's why it's so
They're usually
frustrating.
they are usually batters. It's not going to be Duckett. It's not going to be Crawley. And then we've got Ollie Pope, who's probably, to us, he's fighting for his place. We've got Root, who's been there and done it, probably doesn't want to touch that again. And he's obviously knocking on a little bit. Then you've got Brook, you've got Stokes. Then you're into the wicket keeper, who I think looks like he's probably, somebody said before, he's fighting for, I think Josh in his sort of rant / monologue said that Jamie Smith and a couple of others were sort of fighting for the Test careers. It'd be rare you get a wicket-keeper batsman as your captain. And then you're into your bowlers, which seem to rotate quite a lot. So I think the reason he's vice-captain, he's the only one that we see as actually going on to being the next captain. And incidentally, the white ball stuff, I actually think he's done all right. He just don't let him talk to the media. He's an absolute car crash when you stick a microphone underneath him. But the proof will be in the pudding with Brook in this Test match. Can he help himself? Because the boundaries at Adelaide, they're pretty big boundaries straight, but they're not all that big when you're playing square of the wicket. So when someone's when they're tempting him, is he going to keep sort of driving outside off stump to try and score quickly? So I think that's one thing, and it could go horribly wrong for us. But it's one thing that I'm looking forward to as much as anything else with this Test is when he comes out to bat, what he's going to do.
It could, but Josh, what I want to hear is from an Aussie point of view about Harry Brook, because before the series is you said quite clearly that you thought he was a very good batter. He's possibly one of the best batters in the world at the moment. How has it changed from before to now? Because I think in my mind, and Richard's right in what he's saying is he's come out and said it and stuff, but in my mind, you two tests too late. So what has the feeling changed on your side?
No, the feeling definitely hasn't changed. I think him and Joe Root are still the two that the Aussies will be nervous about. And it's for Harry Brook. It's got nothing to do with his ability. It's got everything to do with what's going on in the top 2 inches, right? It's his shot selection. It's his ability to identify moments in the game that he just has not done. Like, to me, and like I've heard comments around this that he's pretty thick, and it seems that way. He's played really, really poor shots and at poor times and poor situations in the game. So what's changed? Nothing for us really, because like Richard just said, if he can rein it in, if he can, I guess, figure out when to shift up through the gears and when to put the foot down. Mate, he's one of the best bats in the world, no question. He's supremely talented, and I think I was talking about this with a friend earlier, and we were saying if he started his career 10 years ago, before Bazball, he'd have similar numbers to Joe Root. He's that good as a batter, but it's just the temperament for him and what's going on between the ears. But I think he could have a big next 3 Test matches. Hopefully not for the Aussies' sake. But I just wanted to circle back to Shoaib Bashir as well. I think a big part of the reason why he wasn't picked was he played the tour game, the Lions versus Australia A, where Australia A I think won by an innings and plenty of runs. And I know in Australia's only batting innings, he was not for 115. So that probably played a part in why he's probably not playing in this Test. But that being said, though, I think Jax is a good player. I think his bowling's good enough, and obviously it adds a bit with the bat as well. He looks an organised player.
Decent fielder as well.
Yeah.
I can see. To be fair, I can see Jack staying in the team now for the foreseeable, and if there is a casualty further up in the order, I can see him taking that place. I'd have had no problem with Jacks at 3. I'd have had no problem with Jacks at 6 if Stokes went up to 3. I don't think he'd have kept wicket, but that's obviously another matter. But no, I think Jacks is here to stay. To be honest, I think he'll be here for a little while because they obviously think a lot of him. He plays a lot of white ball cricket for England. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes, sort of going forward, and where he's going to bat. But it's almost the Aussie way, isn't it? A lot of your best batters, they sort of come in. I mean, he's a little bit lower down the order. He's sort of coming at 8, but a lot of your best batters have come in lower down the order and sort of progressively sort of made the way up the order. Steve Smith, Ricky Ponting, etc. Both, I think both came in at sort of 6 or 7, didn't they, when they first came into the team? So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with their batting lineup. I think, I think there's some guys in county cricket that are playing really well, and I think that actually balance out this current side too. I know we joked about it on the last pod, guys like Dom Sibley and Rory Burns, Hasib Hamid, like guys like that. I think they'd balance out this team beautifully. And what you do that.
Just one for me.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think, what you do with the rest of the batting lineup, like do you stick with Crawley and Duckett at the top? Like, I don't know how you'd manage that, but it seems to be that the guy that's coming in probably needs to come in at number 3, or if that's, moving Jacks up to number 3 or someone else. Yeah.
I think the issue with Pope is I've got no problem realistically with Pope being in the team. He's just never been a number 3. He's not a number 3 at all.
It's a tough place. It's a tough place to bat.
Absolutely, without
You're
question.
basically an opener, aren't you?
Well, exactly. You can come and bat the second ball of a Test match. And I thought you mentioned earlier, Josh, about Stokes and his thoughts on the way Pope played and he was too defensive. I didn't hear any of that, but that's where you probably want, especially if one of your openers goes early. Now, if you're 150 for one, and then Pope comes in, then it's a different story. But if you're 5 for 1 going into the second over, you need somebody just to dig in and block and leave the ball outside off stump, which is why I'd have had no issue at all with Stokes at 3, and it'd be interesting to see if Jacks could do that job. But yeah, Ollie Pope's not. He gets a lot of stick, but it's because he's just not. He's not a 3. He's a good player. He plays fantastic shots, and he would he be better with a slightly older ball that's not nipping around outside off stump as much as what it does? Who knows? But
and I think
going forward,
if you come back to the Australian side as well, that's I'm not sold on Travis Head and Jake Weatherald being the 2 openers. Only because it's all well and good to start positive and go hard at the top, but and it obviously worked really well for us in Perth. But just because it happened in the last test doesn't mean it's going to happen in the next one. I think I said that on the last pod. There'll be times when Travis Head gets out really cheaply, and we'll all think, "Oh, gee, we could have used him at number 5." But having balance at the top of the order, I think, is really important, and it's something that Australia had for a long time with Khawaja and Warner as the 2 openers. You had a guy that had a really good strike rate and hit balls to the fence and put pressure back on the bowlers, and then you just had Khawaja at the other end just absorbing pressure. And what that meant is that Labuschagne could come in, he could build his innings, which is his natural way. He doesn't have the highest strike rate ever, and it also meant that your best batsman in Smith at 4 could come in after 20 odd overs when you're 2 for 80, 2 for 100. And again, the pressure's off Smith then, and he can play the way he plays. Whereas if you've got 2 guys at the top that go hard from the get-go, all it takes is for 1 or 2 things to go wrong. All of a sudden, Marnus and Smith are out there in the first or the second over. So yeah, it's a tough one to get right, and I think one thing Australia's done really well is they've balanced their batting lineup really well. And I think England could probably learn a few lessons there.
Yeah, I think
I
it's
agree.
a big like time of transition for both England and Australia, maybe. So like in the next couple of series, definitely. Now we've kind of touched on this on the sort of like the conversation that we've last had, but I will still ask the question on it for you, just because we've kind of sort of like squeezed a little bit of juice out, but we can get there. I've got written down on the running order. We've got what's next for England now. Richard, you've already touched on the batting order, but just gonna come to you guys. I'll start with Steve. But for England, we'll talk about England for now. We'll come to Australia at another pod. With England, what is it you would like to see next? For like, how do you see us progressing from this? Like, what's the next evolution of England cricket? Do you think?
It's such a tough question to answer right now in such a big series in such an emotive state, because I am very open in the fact that this series has not gone the way I was hoping, and like I say, there's a way to lose, and I don't think we've shown the best of it. But if we come back to the first pod, I sat there and I went, I feel like we're coming into the series with the lessons learned from the first year, maybe 18 months of Baz Ball. And I feel like we've took 10 steps back. So my ask and my want of the England team, whether that be as it is with the leadership team as it is, or the next one, depending on whatever happens, is carry on with the mentality but make it better. Evolution, that winning mentality, that you want to win, you want to play positively, you want to get a result from it. But I also feel like there needs to be that common sense bracket, because I feel like that's the biggest thing missing at the moment. We're not. We've talked about it a bit today. We're not winning the clutch moments, as Richard said the kids call it. We're not winning those 50-50 moments where the struggle in the arm wrestle is there, and we're not seeing that. And I feel like that's the biggest thing. I feel like we're not seeing that they're really important moments in the game. It's not the fact that we can't win those moments. I feel like we don't see them quick enough in front of the likes of India, Australia, South Africa. Obviously, we're playing to come back strong over the last year, and I feel like we'd have those same moments against them as well. New Zealand. It's those moments that I feel like we need to get so much better at, and it's going to be a tough one to make them understand that it's okay playing traditional cricket. And I know that sounds stupid because we're playing cricket, but when you think back to the 2000s, if I'm honest, Ricky Ponting is. We've just been talking about the number 3 position. Ricky Ponting was a real good example of being able to come in, and if the bowler's legs were pumping and he needed to sit on that ball for 10, 20, 25 overs until the momentum sapped from the other team before he could switch it, he would do that. And we need to learn as a team that sometimes it is okay to, and I don't mean 1 or 2 overs where we sometimes can do it, I mean 10, 15, 20 overs, where if we're at 2 and over for those moments, that's okay. And I think that's going to be the biggest change that needs to happen to make, and that change could easily make England one of the most feared teams in cricket. It's just the big teams around us, the Australia, the England, India's, they're doing it okay at the moment, and it's not causing them fear. And that's the biggest thing that we need to change.
I like it. I like it. Josh, if you were looking, you're obviously looking from the outside in. So when I ask you the question is what would you like to see next from sort of like England in the future, you're obviously going to say, we develop into sort of like one of the minor nations. We suddenly stop funding cricket altogether, and then you win the Ashes as you do forevermore. But put yourself in an English brain for a moment. What obviously. I say that in jest, but obviously, you want a competitive series. You ideally want to watch Australia beat the best England you can do. What does that
Yeah.
what does that look like in the next time it comes around to Australia? What does that look like in your eyes?
I think for me it's probably more from more something for the England Cricket Board to look at rather than the playing group. Is the fact that they're pushing test matches and changing schedules of test matches because of the 100. That to me is a bit of the tail wagging the dog a little bit. I'd like to see England prioritise Test cricket more and probably be a little bit more, I guess, adaptable. When they're going to India, when they're going to Australia, picking teams that suit those conditions, which is what they've tried to do this time. But then they haven't really stuck to their original plans and what they were saying. And look, there's reasons for that, and I understand those reasons, particularly around Bashir. But I guess that's probably what I'd like to see is just them prioritising Test cricket because Test cricket is the best form of cricket. Any cricket purist, I think, would agree. And I think the world game is much better for having close and compelling series. Like it's all well and good for me to sit here and say how much I love watching a 5-0 whitewash, which is true, but I would also love to see an Ashes Test match go down to the final day in Sydney. I mean, how good would that be? It'd just be the most compelling viewing, in my opinion.
No, I like it, and you are right. Like an Ashes series going down to the final day would be nothing short of box office entertainment, wouldn't it? Like, and I do think we do have the ability to get there. It's obviously it's a long road to do so, and we do need to change up a few things on there. You are right about prioritising Test cricket. I think this is just my 2 pence, but I think a lot of countries kind of forget that Test cricket is like the one. Like I know, obviously, you always see the players come out and go like, I want to play for my country in a Test match in this, no matter what country it is, it's like I want to play in a Test match. Put on the whites and represent your country, sort of thing. But then the boards will prioritize stuff like T20s or the 100 for us and stuff like that. I do think getting Test cricket back to the forefront of the cricket sort of calendar, at least in the board's mind, is a big step forward towards that. And I think that's not just specifically an England thing. I think that could be a world thing as well. Whereas I feel like with Australia, I think you are very much Test first, whereas we're not. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say so. We I guess prioritise Test cricket in the sense that the Big Bash, which is our T20 league, plays around Test cricket. We don't move our Test cricket schedule to suit the Big Bash. It's the other way around. And I think Australians in general. I don't know if the feeling's the same in England, but I guess from a cultural point of view, Test cricket's absolutely pinnacle for all Australians. You know, I've never enjoyed T20 cricket, if I'm perfectly honest. Never enjoyed playing it, never enjoyed watching it.
Sound like Michael
Because
Owen.
yeah, well, I think it's one of those things where it's I just think sometimes the better side can lose.
Absolutely,
Whereas
yeah.
in Test cricket, that I don't think I've ever seen the better side lose.
Yeah.
Convincingly. And if it's it's just I think it's a much better test, and I guess that's why they call it Test cricket. It's a much better test of your skill and I guess your resolve to be able to play a series and come out on top, particularly when they're close.
Yeah, in T20, or you can go on the attack for 3 overs, you can take the game away from the opposition, and that's the way
Yeah.
we seem to have been playing Test cricket, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tried to.
But over here, the reason the England-India Test match 5-match series was sort of crammed into 5.5 weeks is because of the 100. But the average punter would always prioritise
Tests.
Yeah, no, it's test is the priority. I mean, I've been to a few of the 100 games, and do you know what? It is actually a good crack, but it is actually a good crack, but
It's
it's
not
nothing
level,
compared to like
is
when
it?
we went to go and watch the Ashes. Richard, just you're the last person I've got to ask this question on before I move on to our to moving on to the to Adelaide. I'm going to ask you the same thing. I'm sure you know the question. What is next for England in your eyes? What's your ideal England?
Well, I think similar to what Steve said, it's in the middle of the series. They've obviously stuck with the same batting lineup. You would always rotate your bowlers, especially when you've sort of gone all out pace with a part-time off spinner. You have to rotate your bowlers. They've stuck with the batting lineup. When I thought, based on what Stokes had said, they may well make some changes. But I touched on this last week about Crawley, for example, and I actually think Crawley. He obviously gave up a few chances, but his results this time were better in terms of the runs that he scored. Um, I feel like if they're going to take Crawley out of the team, it'll be after the series with a view to the next Ashes series, because we always seem to go in Ashes cycles. I'd have taken Pope out at number three. I'm pretty set on the fact that he's not a number three. Um, it doesn't mean that I've taken him out of the team. And I found for him to play somewhere else in the team. Maybe he batted at six and Stokes batted at three. Again, I'd have had no problems with Jacks having a go at number three. But do you really want a player having a go in a different position? When you sort of backs are against the wall in a Test match series. So I think a lot of what will happen going forward will sort of be determined by what happens over the next few weeks. I think a change of approach is needed, and I'm hoping that Will Jackson, Ben Stokes' sort of innings in the second innings, as Josh said, sort of batting out of session. Hopefully that lays a platform for what needs to happen going forward. Like Joe Root carrying his bat 130 odd not out of the Test match at number 4. Steve said that was a positive, seeing him go all the way through the innings. But to me, that's to me is pretty frustrating. He obviously needs a lot more support. Um, I'm thinking off the top of my head here. The last two times that Root's gone not out in a Test match, was it in both in Ashes games? One when he's got no support with the lads around him, and the other one when we declared on day one at Edgbaston.
Yeah.
My hope is how the batting lineup perform for the next few weeks, and try and sit in and sort of absorb pressure. Because I've heard Stokes talking about the Bazball mantra as being, you put pressure on the bowlers, you absorb when you need to, leave everything out on the field. This is word for word. Leave everything out on the field, and you chase everything hard to the boundary. And I can see them chasing everything hard to the boundary. I see it as that. Josh sees him throwing the ball back in from the boundary off balance as some kind of showmanship. But I just hope that they can identify when they need to be a little bit more cautious in these moments. But as I say, I think when Bazball first started, this is sort of more of a general point. When he first started, there's a story of the first net session. Stuart Broad's bowling at Ben Stokes, and he's saying to everybody before they went out, we need to we want to play entertaining cricket. We don't care about the result. We want a result in the game. We want to entertain people, and apparently thrashed Stuart Broad around the nets for 45 minutes, sort of non-stop, with a view to getting everybody sort of to follow him. And I'm hoping something similar can happen off the back of this last Test match. And that's why I was more than happy with Stokes at 3, because he's shown pre-Bazball, and obviously last week and when he's needed to, whether it's sometimes he's out of touch. He looks horribly out of touch, and he can't hit the ball off the middle of the bat. So he sort of sticks in there a little bit rather than just flailing the bat and giving his wicket away. I'm hoping that a sort of change of tactic, and they can just have a little bit more nous going forward. But in terms of changes and an overhaul, I think that will come from that'll come at the end of the series. They're clearly going to stick with the with the batting lineup for the foreseeable, and hopefully they can perform. And if they do perform, they'll keep the place. If they don't, it'll be interesting to see who sort of comes in going forward. But I think that can be said for whether it's the captain, the coach, the squad, Rob Key. They'll have questions to answer if this goes belly up and we get stuff 5-0. They'll be in the dock, as Bob Willis used to say.
I'll quickly say, just before we do move on to one of the last bits, just because you've mentioned it, I will say I don't think Rob Key deserves to lose his place as what he's done. I think what he's done and how he's created an environment for Stokes and Brendan McCullum to do what they've wanted to do is probably the best environment that we've had for quite a while. So I'm not sure Rob Key should be being noosed up at this point.
Ultimately, he's in charge, isn't he? He sort
He
of
is in charge.
oversees it all, and it depends on who. Yeah, they could continue. But I said before the
all of them
series,
could.
if this goes tits up, it'll be interesting to see if Baz moves on to something else. He's had his go. He's done 3 years, and we'll see what happens. But I think if we can improve for the rest of this series, I think it sort of gives us something to build on going forward. But ultimately, it's the hope that kills you, isn't it?
What did you say then, Josh?
I think you should go coach an IPL side and get paid millions, and then you can go play golf the rest of the year.
Oh no, yeah. That's what Cameron Green's going to do.
Good idea. It's a good plan. It's a good plan. Yeah, so that's our thoughts on England moving forward. As I say, we will touch on Australia with the same thing at a later date when they're in a little bit of peril. So that will never come around. But
it'll be in a few days, that Isaac.
It'll be in a few days. It absolutely will be. I want to move on to the the next test. We're an hour and 12 minutes in at this point on Airflow, so we probably should start talking about the next test on Airflow before we start to wrap things up. I just want to quickly read the squads for everybody, just to get you up to speed of where we're at right now. So for Australia, starting with them, it's Travis Head, Jake Weatherald, Marnus Labuschagne, Steve Smith, Cameron Grain, Alex Carey, Josh Inglis, Pat Cummins, Mitchell Stark, Nathan Lyon, Scott Boland. For England, it's Zach Crawley, Ben Duckett, Ollie Pope, Joe Root, Harry Brook, Ben Stokes, Jamie Smith, Will Jacks, Bryden Carse, Jofra Archer, Josh Tongue. Keynotes to take away from there, Khawaja is out again. Nisa is out for Australia after bagging a 5-wicket haul in the last game, and fellow seamer Brendan Doggett is out, and Cummins and Lyon make their way back in. For England, Atkinson's out, Tong's in. We've still not got any Bashir, and Wood is out for the series. Josh, I want to start with the Australia team on here for you, and I know you particularly want to talk about Khawaja for just a moment, so I just want to ask you your thoughts on the team, and obviously, what are your thoughts on Khawaja being left out again, please?
Yeah, well, I hope it's not the end for Usman Khawaja. I'm a big Usman Khawaja fan, and his record opening the batting is undoubtedly up there with the Australian greats. Opening the batting, 3,412 runs at an average of 48 across 80 innings is pretty damn impressive. So I think, for him to miss out is very unlucky. I think if he's 32 and not 39, we're probably not having this conversation at all, and he's locked and loaded for this test. But Mike Hussey made the comments about what's changed after one innings, because unfortunately that's all he's played this series with the back spasms he had in Perth. And what's changed is probably that Travis had scored so well at the top of the order, which I don't think anyone would have predicted at the start of the series, which is unfortunate for Usman, but. Hopefully we see him back in the test side. But if we don't, and that is the end of his test career, just hats off to what's been a brilliant test career. Over 6,000 runs, for Australia. And yeah, as I said, we'll go down as one of our great opening batsmen, that's for sure. In terms of the Australian side itself, for the Adelaide Test, it's very strong. It's interesting. I think that they've stuck with the batting lineup. They obviously like it. With Head and Weatherall at the top, as I mentioned, then obviously backing Inglis to score some middle order runs for us as well. Neisha and Doggett have played brilliantly this series, I think. Doggett's come in and he's done the role of the enforcer, and Neisha, I thought was brilliant at Brisbane. But I mean, in Stroll's 800 plus Test wickets in the form of Nathan Lyon and Captain Cummins. So I think we're just going from strength to strength, and I think we'll be a much better side, which is kind of scary to think about.
It is a bit frightening, isn't it? Like we've been riding our hopes on the fact that Australia would be with with in air quotes half a team, just for missing just players like Cummins alone, and now that they're back in, it doesn't get any easier for us, does it?
Well, you just added 600 and odd wickets with those two blokes coming back in. What is that like? We have looked so poor against Australia's, and I'm gonna be a little bit mean, but I don't mean it. I mean interest, obviously, but against Australia's B team, and now these are coming back, and you looking and going, it doesn't feel like it's gonna get any better any quickly, but it's cricket. You never know, do you?
No, it is a
What do you
constant
think?
surprise.
What do you think? What do you think of the squads, Richard? Do you think Australia is beatable?
I seem to go into this with optimism in every single Test match. I thought Perth was the big chance for us with Hazelwood and Cummins missing. Khawaja, you might not like this, and he played for Lancashire, Khawaja, and I've always liked him. He just looks a shadow of, and obviously you watch him more than me. I'd be more comfortable with Khawaja in the team, to be honest. However, that said, I've also said that I'm okay with Travis Head opening, because you can sort of nick him off early doors, which we should have done in Brisbane. But Cummins coming back worries me. Lyon, it's not just the numbers; it's all the experience and all the support that obviously Cummins is captain, but they've been there and done it, haven't they? And it feels similar to 2006-07, where you've got a lot of players coming towards the end of the Test match career who just want to go out with a bang. And what would they love more than slapping us 5-0 on their own patch? I worry
I've not thought about it until you've just said that.
Yeah. Well, I think Josh said a few weeks ago that if they'd have won in 2023, a couple may well have called it a day back then. But obviously, Khawaja has been a fantastic servant to Australian cricket, and as I say, played for Lancashire. I remember he actually made his debut in 2010-11 when we had you under the pump after. I think he came in for the Sydney Test, I think, didn't he?
He came in. Ricky Ponting had been playing through injury that whole series, and I think had a broken hand, and came in for him once the series was gone in Sydney. Punter basically said, "Well, there's no point in playing," and Khawaja came in.
So it's getting on for 15 years ago, and he's been there and done it. And I've heard an Australian journalist, I can't remember his name, was talking about, will they give him a sort of swan song in Sydney because they feel as though he deserves it. And someone put it to him that he it's not really the Australian way to sort of give someone not a benefit match, but I mean they gave Davey Warner one, didn't they? But because they kept, was there a time not so long ago that they asked Khawaja to keep playing to, was it? I can't remember which series it was. But based on that, they think that there's half a chance that he may get, his sort of goodbye in Sydney, which he'd obviously deserve. But Yeah,
I think I think
I worry about the bowling line, to be honest.
I think what it comes down to is probably around the way Josh Inglis goes, because at the end of the day, he's been replaced by Josh Inglis, and Travis Head's opening the batting, but Josh Inglis is the guy that comes in. So if Josh Inglis misses out again with the bat, then Usman very very well could come into the side, and he'd probably go into the middle order and bat at 5 if they really want to stick with Travis Head, and I think that's what a lot of the talk was about. I think for this series, the door's definitely not shut on him, because at the end of the day, what you've got to do to win your next Test match, and this is definitely the Australian way, you've got to pick your 6 best batsmen in the country, and that's what Australia's consistently done over the last sort of 10 to 15 years. And if Usman Khawaja just deemed to be part of that, I'm not against it, because the numbers do stack up. I mean, after his double 100 in Sri Lanka, his runs have been skinny, but if I'm looking at his scores in front of me right now, on those shit tips in the West Indies, he scored 47 off 128. 23 off 92. So not only, like, whilst his runs might be skinny, he's still facing a lot of balls at the top of the order, and I don't think I think that carries weight. Like, I don't think that's whilst it's very easy to look at the scores and just write him off and say he's done. In that time, no one else scored runs, but he's facing a lot of balls, which definitely takes pressure off your middle order.
I think
Could it be
scoring, if you score 25 on those pitches in the West Indies, they should be reclassified as a Test match 100. They were an absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
They were abysmal. It made for great viewing. I was sat at home watching it, but yeah, that was terrible.
Could it be a bit of a thing of because there's going to be a lot of changes, because you can see it when you actually look at.
He's the easy one to swap out, isn't he? Because of his age, because of how long he's been playing for. Back spasms, loves playing golf just on the eve of a Test match. Did he play golf 3 days on the bounce before the Perth Test? And then
he did, but
because he had a back spasm. And then
and he did, and look, it's an ordinary look. I agree, and I remember saying live at the time, like, I thought it was a bit piss weak, but I didn't realise he was having back spasms. But second to that, so did Mitchell Starc. Played in the exact same golf tournament, and he took 10 for in the match. So, look, whether it was the golf or not, I'm not too sure if that's what caused his back spasms. But at the end of the day, if other teammates are doing it as well and performing as good as they did, particularly Starc, then who's not a spring chicken himself.
Yeah, it's funny how it gets reported, because I've got I had no idea that Mitchell Starc played as well.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Like, you don't hear that, do you?
No.
Josh, could it be though that if the likes of Weatherall, Inglis, Head really fail in the next 3 tests, and obviously the fact that there seems to be quite close to a lot of changes happening in your squad, age related, could it be the fact that he is one that you'd want to keep because of, like you say, he does hold up an end sometimes, even though he's not scoring the runs, he does take 100 balls off the innings before anyone else is coming in and stuff. Could it be looked at that way?
Yeah, potentially. I think one thing about Usman Khawaja, it'll be up to him, and he'll do it his way. He might retire at the end of this series. We don't know. He hasn't made a comment on that. So, look, he's approaching his 39th birthday, so it's ultimately it's going to be up to him whether or not he plays on. I still think he's in our top 6 or 7 bats in the country. So, and his recent Sheffield Shield form suggests that too. He's been scoring runs at Sheffield Shield level consistently. It's not long ago he won ICC Test Player of the Year. I think that might have been in 2024 maybe. It's I don't think he's as over the hill as everyone suggests. But I mean, if it is the end of his Test career, fairest of fucks to him, because he's had a brilliant career.
No, I agree, absolutely. Who's next to come in then? Is it McSweeney or is it Constas again? Do you think, if they do make that change?
It's an interesting one. I don't think McSweeney is an opener. He obviously scored a big double ton against the Lions the other day, batting at 3, which is his preferred spot. So I think he's probably the guy that's a long-term replacement for Steve Smith.
Right, okay.
And I think as well he's got captaincy written all over him too. He's a brilliant tactician. So I think he's a guy that could come in at 4. And if he takes that opportunity with both hands, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a future Australian captain. But it's probably Constant for me at the top of the order. I think he's going to be the long term opener. And there's another guy, Campbell Kellaway, who's also a good young opener who's in the mix too. So the good thing about Australian cricket at the moment is, and I know I touched on this in the first pod, there's so much depth in Australian cricket, and I think the young guys coming through, they've got to go and they've got to earn their stripes in the Sheffield Shield and prove themselves as first class cricketers, and you'll see plenty of those guys get given their shot, and ultimately it'll come down to the bloke who takes his opportunity when it comes in Test matches.
And moving on from Australia, we need to just quickly speak about England on their squad. Obviously, as we say, Atkins is out, Tong is in. Just a few words on that, and then some predictions for the Test, boys, before we wrap up.
For me, Tong was the obvious one to come in, or the most likely one to come in. I still would have liked to have seen Matthew Potts come in at some point. I'm happy Jaxie's playing. I can see why they've stuck with the top 7, but I'd have been open to making changes. I'm glad Archer's fit enough to play, another Test match. Admittedly, we've only played 6 days so far, and I hope that spell. I heard Michael Vaughan last week talking about and Jimmy Anderson as well, actually, on Tailenders. They've seen that he's got it. He's still got, because I think the concern with Archer was. Has he still got the pace over a sort of sustained period? Has he still got the pace full stop, and can he play sort of multiple Test matches? I think what we're looking for from Archer is to carry on how we finished the last Test with his pace, and then when the going gets tough to continue, because I know Josh has had some questions about that and was sort of pretty frustrated with him carrying on like that when the game's practically gone, which obviously Steve Smith told him about. But I'm a bit gutted for Atkinson that he misses out, because I thought he bowled well in the second innings. But I hope. I mean, we obviously need to win, don't we? And it's that's about as obvious as it gets. But again, Jimmy Anderson said last week that he said we're still in the same position as what we were when we actually got on the plane to Australia. We need to win 3 Test matches to win the Ashes. It's just there's only 3 games left, so I'm okay with the selection. I hope Tom goes okay. He's a wicket taker, isn't he? He's not sort of line and length. He will ask questions. He may go for a few, but he will keep going, and that's what Castle keep doing. He will just keep running in all day, no matter how wayward he gets. And if he gets sprayed all over with these shorter boundaries, obviously it's the pretty big boundaries, straight but square of the wicket. If we get it wrong bowling, I think Head and Smith can have a field day, sort of picking it up off the hip. But I'm looking forward to it again. And obviously, as I say, we need to win, so hopefully we can do that.
Yeah, I think it's a good England side, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes in Adelaide without the pink ball under lights. Traditionally, Adelaide's a flatter wicket with the red ball, and I guess the conditions probably suit England the best out of probably any wicket they're going to get this summer. So I know we've said it every Test match with players being out, but now that Australia's back to full strength, I think again this Test match is probably England's best chance. I don't think they'll win, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they go. And it could just be a Harry Brook innings, or even Zach Crawley innings where they go ballistic for 20 overs, and it could be all but over for Australia as well. So anything can happen. But I think short square boundaries. At Adelaide, it's long boundaries down the ground, but I think that suits England. It'll be interesting to see how the pitch plays, because from like I said, with the pink ball, it's give Kratz the pink ball under lights and let him go to work, and he'll take a million poles for you. But with a red ball, it's a different story. Adelaide's a very good batting surface traditionally, so yeah, I'm really intriguing. Looking forward to seeing how it goes. But I'm tipping Australia to win in a close one.
I'm going to be a little bit short and sweet here. I think it's almost the same as Richard. I'm not massively upset about the Gus Atkinson decision, because I feel like he just needs a little bit of a rest. I think he's bowled really well without getting too much of a reward, so maybe just giving him a test off will help. I do think Matt Potts should have probably come in. But for me, it's just come up on my screen, I was just having a look at the weather. I think whoever wins the toss and bats first is going to win, because those first 2 days look horrendous. The top temps for today or tomorrow for us, but today for Josh is 36, and then Thursday top temp is 41 degrees. Yeah, you've got to be winning that toss and
need a
batting.
rest.
Yeah.
Just stay out there and fucking bat, lads.
2 days.
Operatic can use his pillow then, can't
he? Yeah, he can use his pillow if we bat first. But also, if we do bat first, that's the test for us: is can we make it last a full day and a half, even 2 days of batting? A day and a half would be perfect, to be honest. But I'm not holding my breath.
Well, that's the other thing. Australia hasn't won a toss yet, so surely we're due.
Nah, it doesn't matter if you win the toss or not, though, does it, Josh?
It should, lad. It should. You've had the better conditions in both test matches, so if we win the toss and have a bat, you're right. You're in trouble.
Just to make it interesting, Cummins should come back and go, do you know what? You just pick your choice.
He'll come in and go, we'll have a bowl, lads. I've been waiting for it. It looks good. We'll have a bowl.
I can imagine Mitchell Stark's face if he wins the toss and puts him into bowl.
He'd be livid, wouldn't he? He'd be livid.
Oh, absolutely not.
I would like to see a game go for 5 days, to be honest with you. It's yet to happen in this series, and I don't think it's that big of an ask. I've got England. I'm an optimist, so I'm gonna edge England just because surely, come on, surely we've got to do something. We've got to win 3 Test matches to win the Ashes. As Jimmy Anderson said, we're in the same position as when we first got off the plane. We need to win 3 Test matches to win the Ashes, and this is going to be the first one. It's gonna be close, but I've got it. I'm tipping it England's way because I need it to. Now, does anyone else have any final thoughts, any final predictions they want to get in before we wrap this all up?
We're 2 hours away from. Well, we're an hour and 10 minutes away from the toss. It's a very important toss.
Oh, we've got time. We can carry this on until then, can't we? What?
Now, going back to what I said earlier, I think I think no matter what happens in this series, I will be excited for every Test match, and I think they're all very, very intriguing. But I think I actually said to you weeks and weeks and weeks ago that I thought England's success could be Ben Duckett versus Scott Boland, and seeing if
Richard,
we appear to have lost you, mate. Are you still there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you now.
Yes.
Can hear you now.
Sorry, my tablet locked it. So,
no.
Previously I'd said that I thought that this series could, or our success could be based on Duckett versus Bowen, but I think this test it'll be very, very interesting, and I mentioned it before. to see how Harry Brook goes and whether he can adapt. Because if he does, then he can attack at the right times and sort of take a bit of a breathe at the others. Then he's the one player that can sort of take the game away from any opposition. So I'm excited to see how he does. But ultimately, if it goes the same way, I'm going to be pretty deflated, to be honest. And so yeah, I think that could be the test match for England. Not all on, but on Harry Brook's shoulders.
I like it.
Final word to the Aussie.
I've also got something I want to say before we end because I don't want to talk about it too much. But Josh, do you have any final thoughts?
3-0.
3-0. That would be quite painful. That would be quite painful. My final words of this test match that I wanna say. We won't get into it, but I've been listening to another cricket podcast called The Grade Cricketer. I think everyone here may have heard of it. It's pretty big.
Second best podcast on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. What's first, Josh? What's first?
This one, lad.
Of course, correct answer. But they
It's
were
not the name, though.
they were oh god, we've got so many names going on at the moment. They were talking, and I don't know. I can't fact check this because it's not my quote. But Dale Steyn was texted to be a coach for England in October, but Noosa was planning a year in advance. That is what you need to know about the England planning, and that is where I will leave this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Have a very good night. Come on, England. With love, with care, from us. Goodbye.